Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Niche Nook Studios. I'm your host, Ryan. Quick content warning for tonight's episode. The show we're going to be discussing contains imagery of murder and discussions about sexual assault. We will not take offense if you skip tonight's episode if this is a difficult subject for you. So, if so, we don't, no harm, no foul. But this is a show that Cass wanted to do, so I'm not going to stop her. I will be your host for this evening and always the prime suspect, no matter how many alibis I have. UGLY. I ain't got no alibi. I'm ugly. I'm ugly. And she is the lead detective on most cases. It's Cass. Say hi, Cass.
Hi, Kass.
And she's the well-meaning but bumbling captain of the precinct. It's Cody. Say hi, Cody.
Hi, Cody.
Tonight is a Cass episode, and I'm going to just hand it off to her immediately.
So tonight we are going to talk about a show that is very difficult to watch, but it is so good, and that is Broadchurch. It is 3 seasons long. Each season really goes into really the difficulties that come from the bad things that can happen, especially in a small town. At the beginning of season 1, you meet Detective Allie Miller, who has returned home from a vacation with her family to find that the position she was promised has been given to someone else. Detective Alec Hardy. Upset, she is told she needs to report to a crime scene at the beach. There, she finds Detective Hardy standing over the body of 11-year-old Danny Latimer, her son's best friend. The whole of the first season focuses on the investigation into Danny's death, and as the detectives go through suspect after suspect, and Broadchurch goes through the grief and anger of wondering who in their community murdered a child, the killer was somebody that no one suspected. Season 2 opens with the drama and pain surrounding Danny's death not being over yet, as Danny's killer is now going to trial, and despite having confessed to Danny's murder, is now proclaiming their innocence. Old wounds are reopened and brought to the surface throughout the course of the trial. Meanwhile, Detective Miller and Detective Hardy have begun looking into an old case of his from before he came to Broadchurch, after the suspected killer in that case has returned to England. Season 3 opens 3 years later with Detective Miller and Hardy receiving a call about a woman who has been assaulted. Through the course of the investigation, they discover more victims and realize they have a serial on their hands. Meanwhile, the Latimer family are trying to navigate through their grief and anger in their new life without their son. So that's very broad, basic overview of the show. I really don't want to go into too much detail and give away, for instance, who the killer is. Just because I feel like everybody needs to really watch this show and find out for themselves, because there's so much to it in terms of, you have all these suspects and they're going through all this drama of, okay, this person is now being accused of it and now their whole life is being dredged up. The show just does really, really well with the drama that can come from an unexpected death in a small community. Should we talk about the cast and how stacked it is real quick?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea because, like I was saying earlier before we were recording, that the only 2 things I know about the show is, the main kind of people in it and that there's a murder. So I'd love to hear kind of more about the big names that are in it.
So in terms of the main cast, you have Detective Miller, who is played by Olivia Colman, who most people would recognize from the TV show The Crown. Detective Hardy is played by David Tennant, who most people would recognize as the 10th Doctor, as well as from Good Omens. Beth Latimer, who is Danny's mother, is played by Jodie Whittaker, who is the 13th Doctor. Mark Latimer is played by Andrew. I can't say this name. I want to say something different than what it is. I think it's Bouchon, but my brain automatically wants to say Buchanan.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
I even typed it wrong twice when I was typing out my script. In terms of his, what is the word I'm looking for? His accolades. In terms of his accolades, the only thing that I saw that people might recognize him from is a movie called All the Money in the World, where he played, I forgot. It was a famous murder case here in the United States. He plays John Paul Getty II, and it is about what happened after his son, John Paul Getty III, was kidnapped.
Oh, okay.
As Christopher Plummer as John Paul Getty. It has Mark Wahlberg in it.
Wait, Broadchurch has Mark Wahlberg or?
All the money in the world.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, isn't this like BBC?
Yes. Yeah, Broadchurch was originally aired on BBC, and you can watch it, I believe, on Amazon Prime, but also on YouTube, which is where I just recently rewatched the whole thing. So some of the other faces you see in the show are Arthur Darvill, who plays Reverend Paul Coates, who is known for playing Rory in Doctor Who during the 11th Doctor's reign. He was also in The Sandman and DC's Legends of Tomorrow. You have Ollie Stevens, who was played by Jonathan Bailey.
Love him.
So do I. Who is brilliant in Bridgerton and Wicked. Dean Thomas, who is played by Jacob Anderson, who was on Game of Thrones and the Interview with the Vampire TV show. Not the movie that we discussed, but the TV show.
Still need to watch that.
You have Jack Marshall, who was played by David Bradley. Most people would recognize as Argus Filch from Harry Potter or Walder Frey from Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
In season 2, you have Claire Ripley, who is played by Eve Miles, who people would recognize from Torchwood, which is a not sequel, but
Isn't like the Doctor Who spinoff or something with
yes, that's where it's spinoff.
Captain Jack?
Yes. Lee Ashworth, who's played by James Darcy from Cloud Atlas, Master and Commander of the Far Side of the Sea. Did I type that wrong? I thought it was Far Side of the World.
I thought it was World 2.
Now I gotta look that up. It is Far Side of the World. I typed that wrong. My fault.
The magic of recording, though, is,
Yes.
you can re-record that line.
I am having the hardest time reading my typing because of the colors I chose for this.
I was so thrown off by the colors at first. I was like, what is this? Like, I need a legend and then I kept scrolling and there it was.
Yeah. That was more for me because I was like, I need to remember which seasons they're on.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Sharon Bishop, who's played by Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who people could recognize from Without a Trace and Blind Spot. Jocelyn Knight is played by Charlotte Rampling, who people could recognize from Dunes Part 1 and Part 2, Dexter, and The Duchess. Abby Thompson is played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who people would recognize from Solo: A Star Wars Story and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Season 3's cast isn't as well known as the people from season 1 and season 2. You do still get a few in there, like Sarah Parrish, who I recognized from Medici and Atlantis. There are a lot of people who, when I was looking through their IMDb pages and stuff, there's a lot of voice acting going on. I saw people who were in the Final Fantasy game series and Assassin's Creed and Elden Ring. But yeah, so it does have a lot of very big names as well as some smaller ones. And it is just really great cast, in my opinion. And they do so well with their grief and their heartbreak.
Honestly, this is a really big cast list and really big names. Are there any characters that maybe you didn't really expect to care about at first, but you ended up loving?
Honestly, they portray everything so well. Like, one of the first scenes in the show is actually one of the most heartbreaking, which is you're being introduced to all of your main characters, and you see Beth go to Danny's soccer game to watch him play, and she's looking around for him. She's asking the coach where he is, and the coach was like, "Oh, I thought he was coming with you." They all start to realize that he's just not there. Beth leaves to go find him. She gets stuck in a traffic jam. She gets out of her car to see if she can figure out what's going on, and people start saying, "Oh, they found a body on the beach." Knowing her son is missing, she starts running. She runs from her car to the beach. They don't actually tell you how far that is, but she does run quite a ways. And she gets to the beach, and Ellie sees her, and she just breaks down. And it is so heart-wrenching watching her realize that her 11-year-old son is dead on this beach.
Oh, wow.
And that she didn't even know he was missing until just a few minutes before.
Right.
And then you go through all of it with them. Like you see all of Ellie's perspective, you see all of the Latimer's perspective of what is going on. You know, they go through the whole, okay, maybe it was the dad that did it. Okay, maybe it wasn't. Maybe we need to go through the lives of everybody in town and find out all of the skeletons in everybody's closets. And there's just so much that gets brought up, things that people didn't even know about themselves, things that people tried to hide about their pasts that are being brought up and dredged up. So there are two characters that throughout the course of this, they've been brought in for questioning because of things that have been dredged up about their past, legal troubles that they have found themselves in years and years and years ago that have now made them suspects in the possible assault and murder of this 11-year-old boy. Even Ellie's son gets brought in for questioning in regards to it because of emails that he sent to Danny where he basically ended their friendship. Everybody wants to know why. Like, what happened between the two boys that made their friendship come to an end?
Okay. Yeah.
That conversation that does eventually lead to them finding Danny's killer. It takes a long time. It actually ends up being the whole time they've been looking for Danny's cell phone. It is with Danny's killer, and they turn it on so that it can be tracked and they can find the phone and therefore find the killer. And it is, for me, it is so heartbreaking once I find out who the killer is and the reasoning behind the death, because Danny didn't need to die.
Damn, girl. You're making me want to watch it right now.
Danny died because the killer lost their temper
Oh, shit.
because they were afraid of losing everything. And then we go to season 2 where now they've got this whole trial going, which I forgot to mention. About halfway through season 1, Beth finds out she's pregnant.
Oh,
So she just lost a child and now she finds out she's about to have another.
okay. Wow.
And so you get that whole dynamic of her trying to decide what to do. Does she keep the baby? Does she go through with an abortion? Especially with all the things that have come out about their family during the investigation. During season 2, you not only have the trial happening, but you also have this pregnancy storyline continuing. And there is a lot of anger from Beth and Mark towards not only the killer, but the people associated with the killer.
So season 1 and going into season 2 has like the trial and wrapping up the investigation and stuff.
Yes,
Does it feel more like angry or sad kind of at that point?
there is a lot of anger,
Yeah, I bet.
more so than sadness,
Yeah.
because you have the Latimer family, you have their anger, you have the killer's family and their anger. So much anger just from the town in general. Like, how could this happen in our town? And the whole town's trying to recover. So this is a like tourist destination kind of town. And with the death, they've lost a lot of tourists because it happened right as the tourist season was beginning. And the whole thing about it happening on the beach stopped people from coming because that's what they came there for, was the beach. And it's closed because it's a crime scene.
Right.
And actually ends up being a crime scene yet again because there is a second death in season 1,
Oh.
which in that case was a suicide of one of the suspects.
Oh my God. That's complicated.
Yes, it was an innocent suspect who just had their past dredged up and the town turned against them and they couldn't take it, especially after basically a witch hunt happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason that the town was not able to get to the suspect and take out their anger on the suspect is because of Mark.
Which one's Mark? Is he the dad?
Yeah, he's the dad.
Okay.
Mourning the death of his son. He is the one that stops this suspect from being basically dragged through the streets by an angry mob. The show like really does portray having been through a murder investigation with a death in my family. I know the difficulty that comes from that. And I truly believe that this show does an amazing job at portraying that.
Okay. Yeah. I've also experienced something, in my family like that. Another thing that I was going to ask about this show specifically is what do you think Broadchurch does differently or better than maybe other uh, drama series of this nature?
I think that for me, what they do best is portraying not just the procedural side of it. Like it really does not focus very much on the procedural side of it. It focuses on the family and the town and really what they're going through.
Okay.
Like you see Detective Miller and you see Detective Hardy and you do see the crime scene people, but they're background characters, the crime scene people. They're supporting actors. They're not part of the show itself.
Hmm.
You see them in all 3 seasons, like you see the same crime scene investigators, but every season they're just background characters. So it's not like in Law and Order or in Criminal Minds or CSI where it is focusing on the investigation and that side of it. You see the grief, you see the pain. There's a scene where the Reverend is talking about how he's thinking about leaving Broadchurch because nobody ever comes to church. And you see how this death brings everybody together. And at the end of the first season, the church is completely full.
Okay.
And so it just gives you that whole sense of the community coming back together after this terrible thing has happened, especially once they know who did it.
Okay. So, yeah, it sounds like it kind of focuses more on the people side of it, and the consequences don't necessarily end just because maybe the mystery is solved. That's interesting.
Correct. And that's what I like about season 2 as well, is that now they're going through the trial. And once again, stuff is being brought up, like without giving anything away. There was an affair that was happening with certain people, and that gets brought up in the trial as a way of trying to get Danny's killer to be let off by trying to give them other suspects, even though those suspects have been ruled out already by the police.
Hmm. Okay. Like reasonable doubt.
Yes. And then you also have the secondary case that's happening in season 2 where Detective Hardy is reinvestigating a crime from his past. A crime where the killer got away because a piece of evidence was stolen.
Oh, damn.
And he took the fall for it, even though he was not responsible for the theft. He took the fall. But now the person who he had charged with the crime has returned to England and has shown up in Broadchurch. And it has ignited his wanting to get this crime solved, especially considering there is still somebody missing. So that first case, there were 2 girls who had gone missing, and they found one of the girls' bodies a few days after, but the other girl is still missing. So now he is like desperate to try and find out, is she still alive? If she is, where is she? And you get that whole separate investigation, and there's so much drama behind that second investigation
Okay.
until again they figure out exactly what happened and who killed, unfortunately, both girls. It does come to pass that you do find out that the second girl has also died and how she died and what happened.
Wow. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I tried to avoid those, but with that one, it's kind of a big part of it is that they do eventually find out what happened to her.
I assumed when you said the other girl was missing that they were both dead.
Yes. And again, you see the effects that it had on the family of the 2 girls. They go to interview the younger girl's mother, and she's an alcoholic. Her and her husband, they're no longer together because of what happened. And that is something that unfortunately does really happen in a lot of cases where a child has been murdered.
Mhm.
You see all these little hints here and there with the second case, like trying to tell you who did it and who was involved. And you do kind of get a chance to solve the second case on your own while watching the show.
Okay.
Like if you take those little pieces that you're given, you can start to piece them together yourself, which you couldn't really do in season 1 because they hid the killer so well in season 1.
I see. Okay. So they kind of let you play detective as well in season 2.
Yes. Which for me was kind of like just this nice little thing that they did because you are going through the difficult trial that they're undergoing
Hmm.
to have this little bit of, I get to play detective and try to help solve this case
Yeah.
while also having this difficult thing that I'm dealing with over here that we were dealing with from season 1. And then season 3 is just, a few years have passed. Broadchurch is starting to get back to how life used to be, just one child less now. But now they're starting to discover that there is someone out there sexually assaulting women. And you see, they handle it very well, in my opinion. The investigation with the victim and the people around her, because a lot of stuff is brought up about her past as well, where she is, I believe, separated from her husband. I don't believe they're divorced. I believe they're just separated. He had an affair and he was now living with his affair partner. And so she kind of went a little party hardy, I would say,
Okay.
and was kind of sleeping around with people. That does get brought up during the investigation. And it is obvious that she hid that
Hmm.
from them. Like she did not tell them that she was sleeping around. And so you see that they do have to approach her with the possibility of, are you lying to us? Like, were you actually assaulted? Or was this a lover's tryst
Right.
gone wrong? The last person you would expect out of all of the suspects.
Okay. So it sounds like they're still keeping in the spirit of Broadchurch. Like it still feels like, the same show and not a different show using the same characters.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the 3-year jump and bringing up this new case and everything, I was a little concerned. That's not something that all shows can do well, but it sounds like,
Yeah.
they killed it.
So you do still have the majority of the main characters all the way through season 3. You have Detective Miller, you have Detective Hardy. The Latimers are still there. Reverend Coates is still there. The main journalist from Broadchurch is still there. And you see her story through all 3 seasons as well, from running the Broadchurch Echo to writing a book about what happened to basically being told that her newspaper was going to be shut down in season 3.
Oh,
You just get so much of the life of Broadchurch outside of all of these cases that are happening. With any small town, you're going to have bad things happening, but so often they're just happening behind the scenes that people don't realize. So to see this little glimpse of the town without these things happening, but also with them happening, I think it does it quite well, combining both the bad and the good that you see,
okay.
because it doesn't just solely focus on the murder or the assaults. You see so much else that is happening. Like with Jonathan Bailey's character specifically. So he is actually Detective Miller's nephew. His mom is her sister, and you see her struggles with gambling addiction, finding out what's going on. She actually saw the killer the night of the murder, but didn't realize that she had,
Oh,
because
okay.
she was so caught up in getting the next fix with her gambling addiction. So you just see so much of the lives of everybody, and not just, oh, we're going to focus on the detectives and the crime scene and figuring out who the killer is.
Hmm.
That's there, but it is just, I'm trying to figure out how to describe it.
Like it's not the only story being told.
Yeah. Like it's not the primary focus of the show.
Hmm.
And it is more about what happens when these things happen.
Yeah. Okay. How many episodes are there?
I believe it is 24. Let me double check. 'Cause I think it's 8 episodes per season. Yeah, 24 episodes.
That's not bad.
No, I watched it in just a few days.
Do you think this is a show that could have benefited from a season 4, or do you think it's kind of told all the stories it needs to in those 3 seasons?
I think it has told all the stories that it needs to in those 3 seasons, but it's also been done so well that they could pick it back up for another season if they wanted to.
Mhm.
It is wrapped up nicely to not continue, but it is also written in such a way that it could.
Okay.
There was actually a 3-year gap between seasons 2 and season 3 in filming.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it wasn't just picking up 3 years later. It was actually the whole show got picked up 3 years later. They even remade this show for American audiences, like taking place here in the United States, still with David Tennant.
Really?
Yes.
That feels unnecessary.
It did not do as well as the original series did. I watched a couple of episodes. I couldn't finish the American version of it. And it was still called Broadchurch. Like they didn't change the name of it at all.
Oh, geez.
I'm trying to find it right now. Hmm, I'm not finding it. Oh, they changed the name to Grace Point. And it's basically like it is the same show. You have Detective Ellie Miller. The father's name is Mark. The mother's name is Beth. The little boy who died is Danny. They literally made the same show with David Tennant playing the same character.
Why?
I don't know.
That's so weird.
Yeah. So they took the show, renamed it to Grace Point instead of Broadchurch, changed the last names of the characters. Like it has Nick Nolte in it and Michael Pena. It's like it has recognizable names, but yeah, I couldn't finish it. I could not finish the American version of the show at all.
Weird.
Yeah. Like even reading the episode descriptions, it's like reading what I watched on Broadchurch. And it came out like a year later. It's like they just were like, "Oh, this was a great show. I'm inspired by it. I want to write something similar." No, they just changed a couple of names.
Or I guess wanting to adapt it for an American audience. There are shows, of course, that do that, but it sounds like this was not successful.
Yeah. I've watched Law and Order UK, which is a BBC response to the Law and Orders that we have here. That is a great show because it takes the cop procedural that we know and love here and alters it for the differences that they have over there. Their detectives aren't going to be carrying weapons like ours are.
Mhm.
Like, I don't remember the exact way that it is there, but police there don't carry weapons. Like, it is very specific members of the police department that carry weapons in the UK.
That's true, yeah.
Whereas here, it's all of them. So here, you're going to get law and order police officers pulling their guns on people, whereas the Law and Order UK, you're not getting that. And another TV series that is from the BBC that has been adapted for US audiences is Ghost.
Oh, I love that though. I love both versions.
Yes, they did that so well because they adapted it,
Mhm.
rather than having the exact same characters, they altered them slightly. Had the same types of characters, but slightly altered. Whereas this adaptation is literally just a direct ripoff where they couldn't even change the main detective's name.
Well, that's weird. No, you said he's literally playing the same character.
So David Tennant is playing Detective Emmett Carver. So his name changed,
Okay.
but Detective Ellie Miller is still Detective Ellie Miller.
Well, what?
Yeah.
How is that worse? It feels worse somehow.
Yeah. And then you have Mark and Beth and Danny and Chloe as that family, but instead of the Latimers, they're the Solanos. And the craziest part about this is that it was written by the same guy who wrote the BBC's Broadchurch.
That's wild.
So it's like he ripped off his own show.
So you said the American one is called Grace Point?
Yes.
Okay. So moral of the story, watch Broadchurch, not Grace Point. Got it.
Yes. I've watched season 1 of Broadchurch 4 times. I've watched season 2 3 times because I did rewatch season 1 before season 2 came out.
Mhm.
I've only seen season 3 twice. When I was rewatching it this time, at first I didn't remember watching it at all. But then as I was going through it, I started to remember stuff, had remembered who had done it by the time it was done.
Mhm.
It is the type of show that can be rewatched. Even knowing who did it, you can still go back and you have this idea of, okay, here's how they hid kind of type thing. Here's how they interacted with the investigation. And you get to watch it from a whole different perspective when you go back and rewatch it, but it is still just as good on the rewatches as it is on the original watch through.
Okay. I love it when a show or a movie has that rewatchability.
Yes. Are there any shows or movies that you've just watched so many times that you almost have it memorized by heart?
Oh yeah. Is this one of those for you?
Yes. I can go back and I just finished watching it a week ago and I would go back and rewatch it again already. But yes, I will never rewatch Grace Point. I didn't even make it through the first time.
Yeah. I'm glad you warned me, but it does have a different name, so I probably wouldn't have come across it, but you never know.
I only remember it because of the fact that it had David Tennant. I had seen the British version and they had announced that they were making the US version of it. And I was so excited, how are they going to adapt this? And then was disappointed that it was just a basic ripoff. A good way to describe the difference between the US and the UK version is honestly to use the Rotten Tomatoes score. Broadchurch got a 92%.
Dang, okay.
Grace Point got a 64.
With how you described it, I'm a little surprised that it's even that high.
Right.
But that kind of goes to the quality of the source material.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it had the opportunity to be great on both sides of the water, but they really needed to make it its own show. I mean, the fact that the only name of a character that was changed was David Tennant's character, and he's the only one that was on both shows.
Well, I guess they couldn't confuse American audiences.
Right.
That's so goofy.
So do you think this is a show that you would want to watch then?
Yeah, I was already interested before. You've stated your case. Definitely more, I don't want to say interested because, again, I was already. Now I definitely need to.
I will say, in terms of watching it, season 1 and season 2 are an absolute must. Season 3 is great, but is not necessary to the story. They did a great job of wrapping things up at the end of season 2. It didn't need to continue. I do love season 3, but if you don't feel like watching season 3, especially if you do have issues with sexual assaults and not wanting to watch anything that discusses that, you can avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to know. For me, definitely, I would still, at least on a first viewing experience, I would want to watch it all the way through.
Yeah.
But maybe on future subsequent viewings, I might not need to.
So are there any questions you have for me regarding the show?
I know I've asked quite a few. I think really the only other thing that I'm kind of curious about is maybe hearing more about the detectives themselves. They're presumably the main kind of characters in this. I'm interested to know maybe more about their dynamic. Do they work well together? Are they those kind of detectives where it's they're opposites of each other, they're foils?
They are very much opposites. At the beginning, there is a lot of kind of snickering back and forth because obviously she sees him as this guy who's come in and stolen her job. And he has this kind of high and mighty kind of attitude because he's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
As the seasons go on and stuff, they kind of develop this brother and sister type relationship with the back and forths that they have with each other. Detective Miller is, she's a mom and a wife, and, she's watching her friends go through this really, really hard time while also trying to deal with the fact that she has to be the one investigating it while also having just lost her job, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You have Detective Hardy, who comes in kind of, I guess, snobby would be a way to describe him at first. He's not thrilled with the fact that he's stuck in this coastal town of 100 people.
Oh, it's that small.
Yeah, it's a tiny town.
Okay.
You see most of the town throughout the first and second season.
Got it.
He's also dealing with the whole other case hanging over his head. You actually see him have a sit-down conversation with the Broadchurch Echo to discuss what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Get it off his chest that he actually was not the one who messed up, but he's not going to tell them who did mess up. You do find out through the show. He does tell the paper with the express fact that it has to be not written into the story. They cannot name the person who is his ex-wife.
Okay.
The piece of evidence that was stolen from her car was stolen while she was having an affair with another detective.
I see.
And you find out that the reason he covered for her was not because she was his wife, but because they have a child together and he was protecting his daughter. You start to see over the course of it just this different side of him, but he also is sick because of the stress that he has been under from that investigation.
Okay.
And so you see him navigating this new reality of his where his heart is failing. Season 2 almost feels like him trying to solve this case is him trying to correct his mistakes before he dies because he's got it in his head that he's going to die
Mm-hmm.
and that he's going to die soon. And so you start out, like I started out kind of being annoyed with his character. And I still was annoyed with his character by the end of season 2, but it was in a completely different way. It was no longer, oh, this guy's kind of pretentious. It's, will he just go to the hospital and get himself taken care of already? Kind of annoyance. But yeah, there are a few characters in the show that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are a few that I just want to knock upside the head and be like, shut up.
That's with anything.
At the same time, I'm like, that character was written and played very well. There are a lot of red herring that you see throughout the seasons
Ooh. Okay.
where you see something and you go, they did it, they did it. And then it turns out you were just completely wrong. And I don't think it would come off so well if they hadn't been acted so well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hearing about that part kind of reminds me of Only Murders in the Building. I don't know if you've seen that.
I don't remember anything about it, honestly.
Oh, that's okay. They also had kind of a lot relating to like false leads and things as part of their investigation as part of a true crime murder podcast.
Okay. I like shows that do that though, where they throw things in to throw you off because they know that people can recognize patterns and start to figure out, oh, this person's the killer
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I love that.
But yeah, so they threw in so many red herrings in every season to try and throw you off. And in season 3 with their investigation, they were finding people who were registered sex offenders. So they're obviously investigating them. They've got people that the victim was friends with. They're investigating them. Like there's so many suspects. I think they pick like 6 specific characters that they focus a lot on in terms of filming them and interactions with them outside of the investigation, that you kind of get the idea, okay, yeah, it's one of these 6 people. But they show so many things that you're like, oh, this person's got this thing that, oh, it's them. Or this person, they're just giving off these vibes. It's them. Like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, you get to the last episode and everything falls into place and you get to see who it actually was. And you just kind of go, damn. Some of the things that you were seeing that you're like, well, there's the proof. There's the evidence that they need. Wasn't evidence at all.
That's wild.
Yeah. And I think with it not being like a cop procedural type show, they do a really good job of still showing the difficulties that detectives have in narrowing down suspects.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do have to get rid of all those red herrings and find the one person who did it. One thing I do think this show did really well, apart from everything else I've discussed, is that they didn't just go for the ultra famous people. They brought in a bunch of faces that they're like, everybody's going to recognize these faces. At least if you know the BBC, you will. But they also had a lot of people that are not recognizable faces. They have those little people who are also red herrings in and of themselves. You're going to look and you're going to be like, well, I'm not going to suspect this person because I don't recognize them type thing.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
But then they throw them into the list of suspects. And then you go, oh, maybe they are. Maybe they are the killer.
Maybe I was too hasty.
Yeah. So you get this nice mix of people you recognize and people you don't recognize. And I don't think there's a single person in the show that I wasn't like, they acted this out amazingly. There's not a single performance from a single actor in this show that I look at and go, that could have been done better.
Mm-hmm. Or, man, they're really phoning it in today.
Yeah. I see the grief. I see the anger, the pain, and everybody did what they do so well. I'll use this for an example of them bringing in people that like you wouldn't necessarily recognize. Is you have Jonathan Bailey, who, if you've seen Bridgerton or you've seen Wicked or you've seen the most recent Jurassic World, you're going to recognize him. But when he was on Broadchurch, he was a fairly new actor. He was not a well-known at this time. This is one of his very first acting gigs.
Oh, okay.
In it for all of season 1 and season 2. His character's not in season 3, but his character also wasn't necessary to the story for season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas his character is slightly necessary to the story for seasons 1 and 2. You know, you're still dealing with the immediate aftermath of the death, but he plays an integral role in the investigation, despite the fact that he's not a detective. He is a journalist, but he's doing his job so well as a journalist that he is bringing things to the detectives that they didn't know through their own work. He brings them one of their suspects because he is the one that found out about that suspect's past when it didn't come up in the detective's initial investigations.
Okay.
But yeah, as a crime show loving junkie, I would definitely put Broadchurch top 3.
Okay. That's high praise.
The only things that are higher than that for me are Criminal Minds and CSI, original CSI.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I also came to them long before I came to Broadchurch, and so they already had a solid place in my heart.
Right. I feel like overall, you and I have pretty similar tastes. I feel pretty confident in saying I think this is something that I'm going to love too.
Yeah, this, from the very first time I watched it, that very first episode, they hook you so fast when they show you Beth arriving at the beach.
God, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry so much.
Yeah, that scene is the one that locks it in for me. At that point, I have to know.
It's all right. I'm ready to be hurt.
Yeah. And I do like that the seasons are only 8 episodes long. I think they're like 45 minutes a piece. You know, even just watching like 2 or 3 episodes a day, you can get through a season fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to be it for us tonight here at the Niche Nook Studios. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. We will be back next in 2 weeks with another episode. Until then, say goodnight, ladies. Just because I'm a ginger doesn't mean I'm a red herring. Well, good night. And Cody? It was them. They did it. Oh, wait, they have an alibi too. Oh, until then, good night. And that's going to be it for me, everyone. If you want to send us an email, you can send us an email at thenichefiles@gmail.com. You can catch me on Twitch Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Indiana State Time at That One Nerdy Dad. And you can follow us on all of our social medias at The Niche Files and on TikTok at the.niche.files. Until next time, everyone, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you all next time. Good night. The music for The Niche Files is played and mixed by Paul of JPP Creative Media. If you like what you hear, you can find him on TikTok at Just Plain Paul, JustPlainPaul. Thanks again, Paul.